everybody, and welcome back to another exciting episode of 31 Days of Indie Horror. I'm your host, Jonathan Moody, and I've got my awesome special guest here. How you doing, Joe Turek?
I'm doing pretty well. Yeah, Halloween time. It's good stuff. Good scary movie time.
Well, it's not Halloween now. Remember we did these earlier, so this is May that we're doing this, and so it's not Halloween, but it feels sort of Halloweeny, I guess. It's
Well,
the
we're just out
rain.
of we're just out of Friday the 13th, maybe.
Right, that's true. We just finished a
There,
Friday the third, the only Friday the 13th of 2022.
yeah. Well,
Sadly.
it's always a good time for a horror film. So
Oh, of course, yeah. Horror films are every day. You know,
yeah, there you
people.
go.
A lot of people say Halloween is not a holiday. It's a lifestyle. And I truly believe that. So we're gonna be talking about a little movie called Blood Legend. Before we do that, I just want to let you know that we are probably gonna give our little stinkometer thing, but I don't think we're gonna have like 33 people. We're just kind of giving it off, and we may not do those for some episodes or whatever. But I just felt it was really hard. Sometimes it's hard to get three people together for certain things, and yeah, it just happened. So we decided to do Blood Legend, and this is a movie we saw earlier because we were supposed to do it earlier. We watched it before. At least I didn't finish it, so because I knew we didn't have to do it then. But you had finished it before, and then you rewatched it today.
Yeah, I just finished rewatching it prior to this, but yeah, I watched it a month or so ago. So yeah, I wanted to definitely have a refresher so we could talk about uh, little things in it, and all the stuff that we get into.
Yeah, definitely. So I picked this movie because I found it online. I was looking up Randall Malone movies, and Randall Malone's the guy who plays Isaac slash the Warlock, character.
The Warlock.
Yeah, which he doesn't really. I don't know. He doesn't warlock at all. He doesn't do any kind of witchcraft at himself, But I guess he's the lover of or something like it was weird because
Yeah,
I
yeah.
don't know if he was like the lover of hers back in the past, and how did he like live so long, you know? Like, or is that a new person in the body of him? I mean,
Well, he said he was waiting for her for centuries or something. So I think it's the same guy, but
so he
yeah. Well,
never
I mean, there's
aged, and uh he stayed, like, he did that for years, stayed the same age for years, and
yeah,
nobody's ever
just
said this is weird. Why are you, you know?
yeah. Well, I mean, there's a few questions that could come up from this, but yeah, and they mentioned something about it had to be 3 centuries later or something to that effect
Yeah, it was
for
like
the girl.
1600s, right? Like,
Yeah,
I think so. And this came out 2004 or 5, something like that.
yeah,
I mean, it had some little clicky story problems. You know, I think in their head it made sense, but like when I watched it, I was like, wait, what? Like, how is he the same guy from back in that century and been waiting for her for so long? But anyway, we'll probably get into that. I guess, how would you describe the story for this?
well, Isaac basically gets his was it niece or whatever, basically has her doing all these little things trying to bring the blood of a virgin and a few different tasks to bring Moira back, and then um, I guess once she's back, there's sort of the transition that Moira continues to have between that and that monster, and then ultimately it's to try to long uh, reunite the two lovers for eternity, I guess,
I
or moving forward.
guess, yeah, I guess bringing
Because
her
she
back
was
in.
burned at the stake, I guess, back in the 1600s.
Yeah, so she was
So
burned at the stake, and then she basically was telling him she'd be back, or whatever and stuff, and that, and telling that other guy that he knows what to do or something, you know. Which, I mean, I wish there was more storyline with Isaac. You know,
Mhm.
you don't really get to know him enough, and honestly, he was one of my favorite characters in the movie. Like, I've always liked
He was
Randall Malone. I think he's a great actor.
he was definitely unique,
Right.
and his character stood out differently. I'm thinking that he probably didn't have it. He was probably limited to how much time he was on that they had to shoot with him, and then obviously with Sin Deville, she must have had some limited schedule availability, and that's why they probably brought the monster in too. So it wouldn't be her running around topless, killing
So,
people.
are you familiar with Cindeville?
Um, I know of a movie that she did with I think it was DJ back in the day. That's the only time. And I looked up and I saw a lot of stuff on IMDb that she'd done. But unfortunately, I saw that she passed a few years back.
Yeah, a few years
Um,
back she passed away, which really sucks. Uh we really lost a B movie legend in a way. Like, she was somebody who a lot of people really looked up to, and unfortunately, I think it was even, like, I think it was suicide, if I'm
I
correct.
I thought that's what I read. Yeah, but I'd seen her in I think it was it's called something Eighth Plague. I think it was called. It had that DJ Perry was in as well. I saw
Oh
that a number
yeah,
of years
that's
ago.
right. She was in eighth
Yeah,
play. Sorry, when you
yeah.
said DJ Perry, I kept thinking old school DJ, like Night Chills,
Oh yeah.
or I was like, but those are also brain damage films, and this was a brain damage film. So I think Blood Legend might be on that like 100 pack with like Night Chills and From Venus and a bunch of other stuff that DJ did. I think those are
I
the only
remember.
two.
I think it was from Venus. I saw when I was up there in Michigan one time. They were editing some of the stuff. I think it was from Venus they were doing at the time. That
Oh,
was. I think it was either that one or he was working on a number of films when we were up there for a film festival. This is 20 some years ago now. So
was that during like the Wicked Springtime?
yeah, we saw clips of that, and then we were up there for the short film that I was part of with Block, and
Oh
the
yeah,
DJ was a
that's
part of it as
right.
well.
That's
Yeah, it
yeah.
was it was in a film festival up in Michigan at Michigan State, and we went to the studio and saw him and the editor and stuff like that. They were going through some of the footage for an upcoming film, and I think it was from Venus. I could be wrong there, but uh, and then we saw Night Chills at the festival because they had that as one of the movies that was playing during the Michigan State Film Festival, East Lansing Film Festival.
We'll most likely be doing Night Chills or From Venus or something. I love From Venus actually. I'm a champion for that movie. It's so silly and so goofy and
Yeah,
kind of fun. I don't know if Paul would like it as much as, I mean, he might. It's how could you not love a title? Like, he might think it's stinky. I think it was actually a lot of fun, you
yeah.
know.
I'm not sure how Paul sometimes it's some of the. I mean, he gets to keep you off guard with how he's going to take to something or not take to something. So yeah, it'd be interesting to see what his take was. It'd be interesting to see what he would thought of this one too. But if he hasn't already seen it.
I I honestly, and here's the biggest problem with the movie. It's sort of cliche, you know.
Mhm.
It sort of follows like a general path of like stuff. So I guess we'll go into the thing. So it starts with these two guys who are I guess on a class project. They found this cave, and then this girl needs them for like one of the main girl, the niece.
Mhm.
She needs them for like a sacrifice, kind of thing. Basically to bring Moira back. So
Yeah.
I guess she has to kill enough like innocent blood,
Mhm.
or whatever.
Rip
So
his heart out, put it in a box.
basically. What's in the box? Um, and then so she kills these guys, and they never come back to class because everybody's in the same class. Apparently, it's like a legend
Very,
class.
and it was a very small classroom.
Oh yeah. Oh man, that classroom, man. I remember like because my dad works at a school, and I showed him it, and he was like, and showed him that classroom. I was like, are these classrooms like yours? And he was like, no. That's like that looked like storage space. Basically, it was so
Pretty
small.
much, yeah. Well, they got
Yeah.
that one shot. They got the one shot for Cal State Northridge outside, and then they cut into a room. And I was like, this doesn't seem like a college classroom for something
Well,
of that size.
now it can be done. And okay. So have you ever seen the show Boy Meets World?
No.
Okay. In Boy Meets World, they have an episode where they kind of break the fourth wall in a way by showing a fake like TV show being made that's called like uh universe according to boy or something,
Hmm,
like it's supposed
interesting.
to, you know it's supposed to be a parody of Boy Meets World, right? So Mr. Feeney, if you probably might know that name if you know anything about Boy Meets World, Mr. Feeney, played by William Daniels, aka the voice of Kit and Knight Rider.
Oh,
um
really?
yeah, Mr. Feeney goes to the classroom, and the classroom is small, teeny tiny,
Hmm.
and it was like, why, you know um there's not enough seats in here, this would not be a real classroom. And they said, but camera angles will make it look like there's a lot more, you know and he was like, that's fascinating. And it was sort of like fascinating for me, and I didn't know that, so that was basically, they just taught us something kind of cool like that, so like it works if you shoot
Hmm.
certain camera angles and stuff, like you can make it look bigger than it is. But they showed like wide shots of stuff, and I think what you're supposed to do is keep it close in, you know
Hmm. Yeah.
so,
Well, in this one, they had it was really a dark. The rooms was the lighting was. I don't think the lighting was very good, or it could just been the version I saw on Tubi, but
oh, the
it
lighting
just it
wasn't
was
good, no.
yeah, it was kind of. But back to you mentioning about breaking that fourth wall. At first, when you're starting to describe that, it sounds like The Office almost a little bit when they were talking to the camera crew that they broke that at the very end. But Boy Meets World does that sort of thing. That's kind of interesting. I might have to
They don't they
check
don't
it out.
they don't do that all the time. This is just a special episode, but
Oh, okay.
they have had moments where they sort of do that. There was another moment where they were making fun of themselves and stuff. So it it
Oh, okay.
it is a very much more mature than a lot of other shows. Now, that was the problem, because then later on they did Girl Meets World, and they did it through Disney. And I love Disney when they do like Marvel and Star Wars. But when they do like TV shows for kids, there's very few and far between shows that are actually really good. Like Hannah
Hmm.
Montana might be one of the better sitcoms that came out from that time,
Hmm.
but they don't really do sitcoms very well for kids. And so Girl Meets World was sort of, I was a fan of Boy Meets World. I couldn't wait to try to see, I wanted to see more of the reunions, and that didn't work out. Anyway, we're talking about Blood Legend.
Yeah, we
So
just went off the rails from Blood
oh,
Legend.
I,
Yeah.
I definitely, I always run off the rails. So you have to like
Well,
reel me
well,
back in.
okay. So the girl kills the two guys out in the desert by
Right.
the cave. Takes the heart back to Isaac, and Isaac's like, "That's great." And they do a lot of setting up the story and saying all the different things. And they do the flashback as he's like, "No, you're not done yet. You got to do some more stuff." And yeah, you need to bring me the blood of a virgin and stuff like that. So it sets up the rest of it there, but it was basically all told to us. But they did have the flashback to
The
to
1600s or
the burning,
whatever.
yeah, the burning and stuff like that,
Which, did you
which was
notice what Moira was wearing?
Well, I know it didn't cover certain areas.
Right. I was like, why didn't they just have her naked? I think the only reason they didn't have her like fully naked because I mean, Cinderville, she doesn't care, or she didn't care. Probably as long as you paid her, she didn't, or whatever. She, yeah, it just kind of popped out more, or whatever and stuff. And I was like, why is she not naked? And then I was like, oh, she's kind of out in public. I guess it's a little,
Mhm.
I guess if somebody walks by where they're at, they can just always cover her up, but if
Yeah.
she's like naked, it's harder to do that, um
Mhm.
so
But
I get
so
it.
yeah, yeah. Well, they wait, but I had to do some background on her just to and I looked up a bunch of the other ones to see if there was other background on if I'd seen anybody else in much of anything, and I think I've seen Randall Malone in something, but uh because he looked a little familiar, but those two are probably the only two that I really knew of in here.
um I had known a few people from this.
Okay.
So this was produced by David Sterling. David Sterling still makes movies today out in LA.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, he is not friends with me on Facebook as of like May. I don't know if that changes in October, but he was not friends with me, and because I did not buy his movies from him, which whatever, just putting that out there. But I
Well,
love his.
if it's a friend that just wants money, that's not really a friend. If it just wants the money, I don't know. I mean, I don't know the story there, but I'm just thinking in
Oh, I
general.
mean,
But
yeah. Well, I mean, it was like he was asking me, and there was like, when you buy it from him, you're buying some, and spending some serious money on that shit. So I just don't have the capital to like do that for everybody all the time, like
you own
I
this one now.
I do, which I mean, I buy a bunch of his movies on like Amazon, you
Mm-hmm.
know, but not directly from him, which probably he would rather me buy from him if he had. I don't know if he has a copy of Blood Legend. Oh, and Jeff Dylan Graham, I know of too. Um, so when I got into uh like B movies, I started with Chris
Mm-hmm.
Seaver and Trauma, and then I kind of went out and started doing the Jared Bookwalter stuff and a lot of their stuff, and then I found out more information, and I found out there's a movie called Zombiegeddon, which we haven't done for IFC yet. It's on the works at some point, either season 6 or 7. It will be done. I'm waiting for that because I want it. It's a special movie to me, actually. And Paul, I don't think has seen it, so weirdly enough. There's a lot he hasn't seen, weirdly. I have him discover stuff, so he goes crazy. Um, but so anyway, the Jeff Dylan Graham was in Zombiegeddon, and a bunch of other big
Mm-hmm.
name people, Conrad Brooks and Tom Savini, and tons of people. And then so I started following Jeff Dylan Graham's career, and I started
Mm-hmm.
watching things he was in. I think he was in a movie called Dead and Rotting. He was in a bunch of other movies, and so I started following his career and became friends with him on Facebook and interviewed him back in the day. And he kind of stopped making movies. I think he's just, sometimes people just get tired, of it and everything, and just want to take a break, and
Yeah.
maybe they'll come back, maybe they won't. Maybe they'll retire. I hope he comes back because he's always been a
Mm-hmm.
favorite of mine. So I really love Blood Legend because it had Jeff, and it had Sid DeVille, and it had um Randall Malone, and those are the three I really cared about. There's also Jed Rowan, who plays one of the hunters that are in the.
was was he the one that not? Well, he wasn't the one that got killed. He was the other one with the
Yeah,
with the. I
he's
had
the
to
other one.
rewind that a few times. Even tonight, I had to rewind that a few times because he cracked me up. I mean, some of the stuff seemed a little awkward in the scene itself, but the way he delivered it was kind of funny. How it was just
Which
rolling.
what was scene? Which part?
Oh, well, he's like he's like, "What are you, bunch of junkies?" And then he said he said, oh, he made comments about Ron being his friend Ron's dead back there. He walked up, he's like, "This is a mess." What a mess! It's just the way that he delivered it and stuff like that. It was comical.
Yeah,
He's
well,
like,
no,
"This is."
he's really good at comedy. He is
Mhm.
fantastic. He's really good at everything, but he's really good at comedy. I adore that dude. Like I love watching him on I got to meet him a while back, like 2020. I got to meet him.
Mhm.
I don't think I got a picture with him. Why didn't I get a picture with him? I don't know. But I just adored his stuff. I need at some point, I guarantee you, if I don't do it, Paul will. The Amazing Bulk, or which is kind of like the Incredible Hulk, but is like a cheap knockoff of it, And so
Yeah, I saw he had a bunch of credits. I was just like, because it's just a kid. He cracked me up though. I
yeah,
mean,
he's so
and he was
good.
only in there. He was only in there what, about 10, 15 minutes.
Yeah.
But still, it was like I thought he really stood out. It was comical. The little banter that he had with his buddy. Well,
Yeah.
the other
It was
about
supposed
just
to
going out
look
hunting.
like at first he was coming up and like poking him, or whatever,
Yeah.
and it was looking like he was gonna try to kill him or something or whatever,
Hmm.
like gonna shoot him, and then he's just like fucking with the dude, and then they go out and get killed, and a lot happens in this like hour and 25-minute movie, like
Hmm.
which is weird. Like a lot of these movies, and nothing happens, and then till like the end or something. But I mean, there's a lot that goes on. Like there's back, what is it? At one point, the Moira wants to kill like all these different people. So she kills the professor, who I kind of felt bad for. He didn't really do anything, and it was kind of nice. I think they even mentioned that, right? You know.
Yeah. Well, his character, I was like, okay, he goes and turns the shower off. That what? How did it get turned on? And he just goes back to bed. I'm like, there's a problem there. If
Maybe
my
he just
if I
thinks
heard
it's a
running,
plumbing problem. Um,
but
like,
that was a different type of creep up the sheets too that happened with him.
oh yeah,
Yeah, first is Moira coming up, then it goes to that monster.
hmm it was Moira
Um,
at first, and I mean, I bet he would have been okay with if it's just Moira, but nope, she turns into the monster, and then which I have to say that monster mask looked really bad, like
yeah,
cheesy.
and now, and I said something earlier. I was like, maybe Sin Deville didn't have had very limited time on there where they had to have somebody else to take over to make it
Right.
or so was it a timing thing that they had to put somebody else in that spot for to
Well, they
do that,
probably could only
or could they
pay her
just
for like a day or something, and so
yeah,
they
yeah,
just
so they had to do that with the werewolf monster or whatever whatever it
That's
was.
actually not a bad idea, you
Uh-huh.
know, right? Put somebody else in a mask, and then you can have anybody wear it and run around and whatever. It doesn't matter. But um, it the problem with it was it just looked cheesy. Like the mask
Hmm.
itself looked bad. But I don't know. It kind of added to the fun of it. Yeah.
Yeah, and it had a few. There was a few interesting kills based off of it. The monster, when it was the monster doing it too. Because like when what he ripped out the part of the neck on the one person, and then twisting the head on the girl. It was just like, and just um,
Hmm.
uh. So I mean, there was good things around that costume. It just that was a little. I don't know if they were just budget constraints or if it was meant to be a little just to be that way.
Right, because like the problem with doing a person in a mask is you can tell it's a person in a mask.
Hmm.
If you did makeup and you made them have like fake horns on their head and all that stuff, that's different. But like you said, they probably had to put the mask on so it would be a different person who plays the monster, and so that Sin Deville can just play the sexy part and then
Hmm.
go home, and stuff. So it's probably 1 or 2 days with her, probably one, I would say, because like looking back at it, I mean, there shouldn't have been more than one day. There's like only like 4 or 5 scenes that you actually see Cindy villain, you know.
Mhm. Yeah, the
So
only tricky part would have been it was like the scenes were all different like locations, but I mean it just could have been one really long day.
yeah,
Or yeah, yeah.
yeah, a day, and then there's some of the night that she was there, so it was probably a whole full day, that
Well,
she was
well,
there for the movie.
yeah, we definitely know how you can squeeze a lot of stuff in very short windows of time when rubber meets the road. You have to have
Right.
it happen. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure if you know anything about the budget or the time that how long they had to shoot on this or whatnot. I was just curious. I'm not aware of it, but
I know I know Sterling's budgets are pretty small,
mhm.
like he doesn't it says 52,000, but I don't buy it. I literally where did the $52,000 go to? Like a lot of times people say 52,000 on the IMDb, but it's really like two because they want $50,000. They want somebody to buy it for $50,000. But I don't know. I can't say that for sure. I know Brain Damage. I know Darren Ramage, who runs Brain Damage. I'm guessing that's where he gets the name from. Darren Ramage, Brain Damage. It
Mhm.
sounds similar. Um, and I'm friends with him on LinkedIn, by the way.
Oh,
And stuff. So awesome. He executive produced this, so he put up the money. Don't know how much he put up. It could have been just 5,000, or
mhm.
something. Probably enough to pay Cinderville, give everybody food, and pay, um, you know, some travel, I guess, expenses or something, or
Mhm.
whatever, or places to people to stay if they need to stay in like a cabin or something, or whatever, you know.
Yeah. So
So
so we talked about all the different stuff going on. So we talked a little bit about the classroom stuff. Then there was the two buddies sitting there talking. What was it? Caleb and Brian.
yeah,
Brian's character it, was there the way that he delivered his lines. Is that something that was meant to be that way, or is that just the way that he is, or was there some sort of in joke? Because
I
it seemed like he was
don't.
talking the way he talked. He was just like, "Why don't we go here?
Yeah,
Why
I
don't we
think
do this?" He was like, it was really
some
awkward, and I
sometimes it did it like it sounded like it was like for comedic effect.
mhm.
And then sometimes he did it, and I was like you, and I was like, wait, that was awkward. So
Yeah.
my guess is that's just the way the actor, who I'm not familiar with him. His name's Eric Coffin, and I'm
Mhm.
not familiar with him at all, but uh he was amazing. Like I've seen he's done a couple other things, I believe, for Sterling,
Okay.
but he was like he shocked me because I was like, who is this guy? Like I don't know him, but he looked familiar,
Uh-huh.
like he's
Well, yeah, it was funny because when Jed said that one, he's like, "Are you shitting me?" He's like, we would not shit you or something like that. It's just a very dry demeanor, and it was really. I was like, is there some sort of? I'm figuring that there was probably some, I'll say, in joke or some something playing there that just was meant to be.
well,
Um,
and he wore like makeup and stuff, and the and Caleb, played by Jeff Dylan Graham, was like, "Why are you wearing the makeup? Like what?" And he was
it was just
like, saying, getting pussy gets no bounds or something. Like he was doing whatever he could to get some, and I was so sad when they killed the coven. You know,
yeah,
spoiler alert. I guess we've been doing spoilers all day, so. But
yeah.
they killed the
Well,
coven, and I'm sad about that.
and was there really a reason for that? Now I'm trying to, because it's like they weren't worried about letting witnesses go because Jed and uh, Brian ran off. I mean, they took off together to go to the rave, and then Jed disappeared. So it wasn't like there was witness issues with witnesses not being around or anything like that. but yeah, killing the Coven. I was like, did I miss something on why they had to be killed? It was just for the blood count, if you will, for a horror film.
That whole scene, I have no idea. I have no idea why they did, but that whole scene at the rave, when they're setting up the rave party or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
which they were outside during the day for a
Mm-hmm.
rave party already, and then they were getting mad that like nobody was showing up, and I'm like, you can't do a rave during the day, like
Mm-hmm.
no, that doesn't work out. Why are you worried that people aren't showing up yet? They probably wouldn't show up till like 8, or 9, for like a rave, and
Mm-hmm.
there's stuff that, and I was like, that is the weirdest looking rave thing because they have like party balloons and shit in the like it looked like a kid's birthday party, not what, like how many, like these guys have never gone to a rave. It didn't seem like, what the hell was going on.
And it was like a walkway between like two buildings or something. I don't know really where the party. What I don't. But I think it was all around Isaac's house, meant to be, or yeah. But it was
Yeah,
it was it was an awkward. And then they had the ritual the night before, and uh, where they kidnapped her and beat
and
the Virgin Mary, and
and
basically was going
sacrificed
to
her.
sacrifice her. Yeah, and it was kind of interesting seeing the blood coming out of the pentagram. They
Mm.
had like some sort of blood coming out of there, but then I was a little unsure on why the guys woke up. Well, first it was kind of funny when they when they passed out from seeing the
Yeah,
Mary get
basically
killed.
they
They both just
fainted.
fell. Yeah, they faded back. But then they woke up the next day with blood all over them, and then it was just like, and they were in bed together, and it was just like, what happened to them? How did that happen? Um, I,
Don't ask, don't
I,
tell. What
yeah,
what happens in witchcraft stays in witchcraft.
yeah, exactly. Well, with the way everything played out at the very end, I guess Caleb sort of got stuck in Isaac's position. So maybe he could. They didn't want to kill Caleb. They just sort of he's because I mean that's what I took out how the end. I know we're skipping all around here,
Oh
but it's
yeah, yeah,
like, but
uh,
maybe that's why they didn't kill Caleb. I don't know because at the end they had that thing where they just closed in on him sitting at the table.
well, they kind of had him like hypnotized at the end, so
Yeah, yeah.
which was like a little weird, I guess. I don't know really what the point was. I guess he was, yeah, I guess he was taking over, but he looked mindless, like he had no
Mhm.
will, so I have no idea what I don't know. It was weird.
Yeah, and then they killed the main girl.
The niece,
Uh,
yeah, which
yeah, but
sort of shocked me. I was like, I can't believe that happened. Like
yeah,
like she's there. I thought she was gonna snap out of it, help her escape, and then they were gonna go and kill. But it ends on a note where Isaac and Moira go off and they kiss, and I'm like, aren't you guys descendants of each other? Like, I
I think they were lovers though because they said something about that was 300 years in the making for the night before with the stuff they did in the bed or something like that. They made a bedroom comment of some kind right at the end, so they were
here.
lovers.
Okay, so
That's the way I took it, anyways.
riddle me this then. Okay, let's talk about this real quick. This really confused the fuck out of me. So she's his niece, right? What's
Mhm.
her name? Um, my brain is not working right now.
Diana,
Was it
is it
Diana?
Diana or Diana or something like that?
You might be right. Diana. Yeah. So Diana is and she's cute as fuck. I thought she was adorable. Um she is the niece of Randall Malone's character
Mm-hmm.
and also a descendant of Moira. Isn't that what he said? You're
Yeah, well,
a
yeah, because
descendant.
yeah, a descendant on the line, so
So
maybe
then there's some incest shit going there then because they are
un- unless Isaac
related.
and Mara were married, and if that's the case, then maybe he's her uncle by marriage or so. I don't know. I don't
Uh,
know.
well, because you never
I
know who the fucking like who her parents are, like, and then how is he like an uncle anyway if he lived like 300 years ago?
we're we're, we're unraveling. It's unraveling all
I,
right in front of us as we're talking
this
through
is
it.
just this is just like, no, this is just sloppily written. um who wrote it, by the way? Probably whoever directed it would be my guess, but
Let's see, I think I have it up here.
so Rusty Nelson, Jeremiah Campbell, and Rusty Nelson.
And it says
I
David Sterling's story.
Oh God, I love David, but he's not a writer. Um,
So I guess he had the idea and then gave it to the other two of them. The general idea he came up with.
yeah, let me see if I
Um,
know this guy.
are you talking about Jeremiah Campbell?
Yeah, no, I mean I don't think I know him. Rusty Nelson, I don't know offhand too, but I think he's done some other stuff for Sterling. Um, no,
See, yeah. See, this is where it gets not necessarily the holes are all in this story or whatnot, but um, when you have a smaller budgeted film, sometimes the focus is either unfortunately it gets catered to one thing or the other, and I think they went to some of the um, shock moments or the comedic moments or the horror moments versus playing the whole story together. I think that's the story took kind of a back seat to it. Not the idea, because the idea is actually not bad. I mean, but I don't know. It just probably needed a little bit more massaging around a little bit, or yeah, I don't think they probably cut anything because I mean it was. I mean, I don't think it was what, an hour and 25 minutes or so. So it was,
right.
but yeah, there was definitely some questions that were just continuously popping up with questions here and there from different things and
Well, it looks like Jeremiah Campbell definitely worked with Sterling a lot. So he wrote stuff like I know he wrote a movie called Witch's Sabbath, which is also on Tubi. Randall Malone's in it as well. David Sterling produced it. It's on, apparently it's Brain Damage Film. It's one I'm interested in buying at some point because probably buy it this year. Because I've been trying to get all the Randall Malone movies and I don't know this one offhand. But yeah, Randall Malone plays like Giles the butler, and Jed Rowan's in it, and Sin DeVille's in it, and I think a bunch of the other actors from this movie is in it.
also you got to so it's that group of people that
Well, I bought another
just to some
movie,
degree.
yeah, called Slaughterhouse Five, which is a what is it?
Nice title.
Yeah, it's a sorority house movie, thing. So it looks I bought it. I haven't seen it yet. I don't get to watch movies unless I'm reviewing. Like I buy all these movies and I'm like, oh, that looks like it'd be fun to watch. I guess I'll have to make it part of one of my movie things so I can watch it, because otherwise I can't watch it for fun. Like very few times can I, because what I'll just end up doing is watching TV instead. Catching up on TV. We got so much going on TV wise just this fucking month alone. Like end of the
Yeah.
month, by
Well,
the way.
yeah. Well, by the time this airs, yeah, some of the stuff that's on the horizon will have aged through and stuff like that. So we'll be seeing that in a different light for some of the shows and different things that are going on. But when
Yeah,
this
we'll be
actually
thinking
airs,
about this when we actually look back at this review and be like, oh yeah, we talked about
yes,
that.
yeah. One thing that was a little awkward to me is watching this was at the and they did it a few different times, but at the very beginning, it started out with a shot of the desert and the mountains and
Mhm.
all, and it was like bright, sunny, and they had this screeching, like dramatic horror music, like somebody's being chased in the woods at night. And I was like, this feels a little odd. but it was things like that, and it was just, but so it set a tone to me that I was like, okay, well, I got to probably watch this from more of a comedic possibly element or something, maybe not just with the music being a little different, and then some of the we've already talked about some of the humor that's popped up in here, whether it's a lot of it I
Intentional
think
or
was
not.
intentional. Yeah, I think a lot of it was intentional, but some of it probably wasn't. But yeah, some of the talks that they had, it was just like, yeah, this is they're meaning to have a good laugh with this.
Well,
But
let's look at example like the classroom scene, the only classroom scene we get, or whatever, and
mhm.
the all the people are just talking about I guess the legends and stuff, and then the coven comes in, and it just sort of is sort of funny, like everything's so serious at sometimes, and I'm like, why are you why so serious,
There
like,
you go.
yeah.
Well, and when that scene played out, it was like I was like, um, it wasn't necessarily a continuity error, but I was like, the teacher was late to class. They kept it in one segment, but I think the class only lasted 5 to 10 minutes because it was like he's like, I'm going to end the class now, and I was like, wait, they all came in late, and you came in late, and so it
I
was just
guess
kind of
in
comical to
college
me.
you can just do what you want. I mean, this seemed,
Mhm.
I don't know if this is like a community college it was supposed to be, if it was supposed to be like a real university, because it didn't seem,
Yeah.
it seems so like,
Well,
I'm
I thought they had a
sorry.
sign up there that said Cal State Northridge, which, if I remember correctly, that's a pretty decent sized school. I mean, I'm not saying it's like UCLA or USC or anything like that, but
Is
I
that
thought
is
it was
that is that what it said?
I thought it said Cal State Northridge at
Oh
something.
God.
They had a sign right before they showed the classroom, and I thought it said Cal State Northridge, but it could have said there could have been like
Interesting.
an addendum thing underneath of it or something like that. Like um, I don't know, like you
It
hear
was,
like Texas A&M Kingsville, like a small name underneath of it or something like that. But
well, it's funny because I lived in like right close to Pasadena. So I lived over by the Cal State in Pasadena, which is where like the Big Bang Theory, and for
mhm.
some reason I didn't go to the school just to like, I should have just gone to that, because it was right down the road from it. I could have just drove over there, just saw the campus, said, that kind of stuff, but I didn't. You know, but however, Cal State is, a pretty big school. So it's so funny that they're saying like Cal State and Northridge, and it's like this teeny
Yeah,
tiny room, and and professors who just last 5 minutes teaching a class, like, and they don't even teach the class. Like, what did they learn?
yeah. It was like the one girl in there seemed engaged with
Oh,
the
Mary?
Mary girl. Yeah, the
Yeah.
rest of them they were all just talking about the party, or the guys were talking about the girls, and the coven came in and they were just there. I think it was probably a thing to put everybody together in one place to continue this, just continue the story. But it seemed a little, I don't know, a little choppy.
Speaking of odd and stuff, because we talked about things being so odd and weird, but like that awkward scene with what's his name? Brian, was it Brian? Was that his name? The Eric Coffin's character,
Yeah, yeah, Brian.
Brian, and then there was a Caleb, and they have like a conversation in the field or whatever at a like park about the one chick from the coven, and stuff like that.
Hmm.
Is she really gonna do? It felt seriously like improv, like they were just like, because they completely just kept going with it a little bit, and I was just like, wait,
Hmm.
is this written? This doesn't feel even written. But they were like, she was like, oh, I wonder if she's into some kiki witch stuff, and blah blah blah. And I was like, wait, what? Like, if you want to be sacrificed, sure, Like, I mean, I don't know what kinky witch stuff that he was thinking that she would do to him, but might cast a spell on you, you know.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah.
and then so then they go and talk to the girls, and that was even awkward. Like their conversations with the girls is like, like
Hmm.
oh, that girl over there, oh man, she's a virgin. Like, how do you know? It's like, oh, I've never seen her with anybody, you know.
He said, I think, yeah, he said that, and he said, he says, I could just tell, or something like that.
Yeah. And then so they just assumed she was a virgin. They didn't know, you know. What
Yeah,
it
I
would have
don't
been
remember if she had.
funnier if it would have been funny had they done this sacrifice and it didn't work for the, the girl was like, damn it, she didn't bring me a real virgin. Go find me one, or whatever.
And that would have been reason to kill one or two of the coven, maybe, or something like that.
That would have been really that. See, we're writing the movie better than the movie wrote it. The movie,
Yeah.
but yeah, because like it would have been great if they, because otherwise it just seemed like stupid. Like, I mean, this coven is supposed to be helping bring this, chick back to the, to life and everything. Why didn't they just go and kill the people at the rave? Right? Like,
That's true.
the coven should stick together and kill the people at the rave. Like, it felt like there was a lot of missed opportunities for things, and
Yeah.
instead they wanted to shock you. Oh my God, we're killing off the coven. But then it just makes no sense.
Yeah. I think they had to do something. They had to go back to the desert to perform the final stage of the transition or something like that for what happened with Mora.
Yeah.
I guess. Yeah.
Then why
But yeah,
still
they should
kill,
have.
yeah. I mean, do
Yeah, they
the
should have
final
done something at the
stage
rave.
then, or brought the rave to the desert, because it made as much sense as a place where they had balloons and shit. Like that didn't make any sense. So having the rave be at the desert would make more sense, or just as much
Yeah.
sense. So I don't know. I like,
Yeah.
there was a lot of missed
So
opportunities for things.
so with this, is it really with when these opportunities are missed like this? Is it just because, and this I'm without watching or knowing more of the background of the story, the filming, it's was the time not available for them to prepare accordingly to cover these holes and build stuff around, right? Or was this like set up to be uh, written, made, and everything within 30 days, and it was just like a
30
process.
days. Well,
Well, I'm saying 30 days from the day that it was the writing started to the shooting to the editing to everything.
no,
I
well,
mean, it
yeah,
was
maybe it took a
yeah, the
month to
whole
make
process.
to get this
Yeah.
damn thing out, but
Oh yeah, yeah. Filming they probably did. It was what 3-4 days maybe.
maybe.
Yeah.
See, a lot of
Um,
times filmmakers just spend 3 or 4 days and they just make something, and then it just comes out like crap because you're not spending a lot of time on your thing. And I understand, like, there's some filmmakers who can do that. I've
mhm,
seen a lot of it low budget indie filmmakers who can do 4 days and or 3 or 4 days, and they can just get it done and it's out and it's finished
mhm,
and it's good, it's decent. Then there's some I've seen that they do it in 3 to 4
yeah.
days and it is terrible. This is
Yeah.
sort of in the middle. Like,
Mhm,
this like could have been so much better had they spent more time, I think, on it, and
mhm,
really worked on it and everything. But once again, probably timing, getting scheduling, getting people out. Maybe some of those actors had scheduling conflicts. They had to be on another set, or they had real jobs and they had to do those, so they could only do it for 4 days,
mhm.
stuff like that. Or like, as we said, Cindeville, she could only do probably one day, so they had to make do with a body double, basically, by wearing a mask, which is actually very smart,
Mhm.
but it's noticeable. Like, you're like, oh, that's not Cindeville. I think it was even taller than
Yeah.
she is,
Well, yeah, I think that it was like a foot taller or something like that. Well, I mean, I know the head had like all the hair and just the
And I mean, then you could say, like, when it's in, demon form, when she's in
yeah.
demon form, it's a different thing, or whatever. It doesn't matter.
Mhm,
But it's just like, looking back at this movie, it was just like, this movie could have been so much better, but they
mhm.
just did
Yeah.
not care. It didn't seem like they just
Yeah.
made crap, you know?
Yeah,
Um,
and that's where I was trying to understand it, and that'd be the constraints that they might have been under when they were making it, or is it just or was this the the best of the potential of the project. I don't know. I mean, it, yeah, and when I watch movies like this, I mean, because I don't watch as many of the independent horror as you have,
Mm-hmm.
obviously. Um, I try to watch it in a little bit of a different light than I watch like if you go to see a big Hollywood production, because Hollywood productions you have so much more. It's the Hollywood machine that does a lot of that. So um, you're seeing usually with a lot of these independent films, it's the pure passion from the people that are trying to do it, whether or not they have all the top notch people that could do different roles in it and stuff like that,
Most of
whether
the
it's
time they
acting.
don't, like
Yeah,
um so we were talking about Eric Coffin, and I really liked him. I thought even though he was, he delivered his lines very awkward and weird and stuff, I sort of liked that. It was consistent, to his
yeah. Well,
character.
and that's why, because he was so consistent with it. It's like, was there an in joke that I just didn't completely catch or
Well,
something like that? And
maybe it's a, joke with him, maybe he like maybe or maybe okay, so you've seen the movie From Dusk Till Dawn, right?
mhm.
Well, there's that character that's plays like Sheriff McGraw, you know, and he has a specific way of saying everything, you know. When I first watched that movie, I thought that guy was a bad actor. I was like, why is he talking so slow? This is weird. I don't like it, This is like he's talking about yeah, that blood, right? But that's I find out later that's the way that actor talks, He was in a lot of movies and he has a specific way of doing stuff. So I start watching all those other movies and I go, okay, like I get it.
Mhm.
This is him being him,
Mhm.
being the way he delivers lines. Now
Yeah.
that can be a problem in a way because like a lot of characters need to be like you don't want to notice the actor, you want to notice the character,
Mhm.
so if the actor plays the same roles over and over again, I mean they play the roles the same way, it gets to be sort of you know so
Mhm. Yeah. Well, I think with the Brian character, with the example I gave earlier about how um, Jed's character said, uh, "Are you shitting me?" He's like, "No." And the way he said, the line he gave back to him was, it seemed like it was meant to be the way that he was responding, the way that Brian's character was, and
mhm,
maybe that's the way that the delivery was supposed to happen.
right.
So it just it just played very dry off of some of the other stuff, but it in that scene, I had to rewind it a few times. I mean, I think it was Jed's performance that really got me off. He just cracked me up. Um,
He's
uh,
good. He's good. I like him. I keep I when I buy the movies and they have him in it. Like I just reviewed for
uh
quick review Thursday. I reviewed Jekyll and Hyde, and he's in that with Randall Malone. Randall Malone plays like a butler in that. He's uh sort of like they're wonderful. Like they play characters like like them, like the way they do it. And I think that Eric Coffin, he hasn't acted in much else, so maybe he's retired and gone on to do something else or
yeah.
whatnot, but he was wonderful.
Yeah. Well, and we keep going back a little bit because I mean, I guess sort of. I mean, Diane, I guess, was the main character, but Isaac and Randall Malone. It's just he had a presence that was, I think, in a lot of ways set the tone, and that's why I took some of it as um, over the top, kind of comedic at times. The way that he was
Mhm.
coming across, and um, just the way that the way that he handed the scroll and he handed the knife to her and stuff like that. It was just, and how he was peering over top of when he was on the upper balcony when they walked underneath at the house. It was just, um, and I think that was intentional. But I would like to know more about really what Isaac's history was,
Mhm.
to know more of what the legend really was, or blood legend. I mean, what to know more of the legend of why that they explained it a few times, a few different things, but it's like saying it and actually feeling it, I guess, would be two different things. And
Yeah,
I think that's what they.
I didn't understand it necessarily, but and I watched it, sort of twice, so I I like, it confused the hell out of me. I mean, I don't even know why he turned on his own niece, or whatever.
Yeah, well,
Especially when
I guess there must have been that he had to kill her to fulfill
the
Moira's
prophecy.
return. Yeah,
Yeah.
the prophecy of truly getting Moira to return, he had to sacrifice something else, which they could have played that up a little bit more, because I mean that's kind of, I mean, the shock value of that could have been so much even more impactful if there would have been more of um, a, a sympathy for her character, you know?
Yeah, I guess there really wasn't much of that. So
Yeah,
I
yeah.
don't
So
know. It was honestly, this movie was okay. Like, it wasn't anything to like, I'm happy to own it. I have
mhm.
my own copy of it. It has like interviews and like it's got making a scene. I did not check that out. I should have, but it has a thing where it says like making a scene, which
Mhm.
is like making of a scene, I think was what. So they show you how they did one specific of the scenes, I guess, behind the scenes. So I think that
Hmm.
was pretty cool. So yeah, so if you buy the DVD, you'll get some extra stuff on that. And it's like $5 on Amazon, or whatever. So it's a pretty good deal.
Yeah, I
Um,
know on the IMDb it shows the main picture. It shows it's because it's part of a compilation on was it Tomb of Terror or something like that. It's
oh
one of
yeah,
those 25 or 50 film box
yeah,
things.
50
It,
pack from Pendulum Pictures, which
yeah,
is Brain Damage, but it's also got its own individual DVD. So that's the one I bought. And uh, the thing is, it's great to have those things because the 50 packs only have the movie. They don't have any of the special
yeah.
features. So if you really want to see the special features and stuff, you buy the DVD and whatnot, and you can have like commentary or whatever. And those are the things I like because I like learning how they made that movie. And
Mhm.
sometimes the commentary is better than the movie, you
Yeah,
know.
and you said there's some interviews on there that those interviews sometimes could prove beneficial to understand where we were, what we were thinking of, some of the tone or something, anything in the story or some of the background or just part of the production
A
elements.
I didn't see it, but a lot of times the interviews are like ass kissing the people
Yeah.
making it and stuff and saying, oh my God, I love being on this set. This is so great. Even though like they themselves have been like outside in a freezing, thing, being treated, you know what I mean? Like
Hmm.
sometimes you can tell when people are just faking like, the happiness that they're having on set when really they were probably having the worst day of their life, and
Yeah.
stuff. And because filmmaking is not like and that's sort of, if I do like more behind the scenes like interviews and stuff, I want people to be realistic. I want people to
Hmm.
tell the truth about how difficult shit was, or whatever, how this wasn't a peachy keen set to be on, because the blowing smoke up people's asses is kind of boring now.
Yeah.
We want to know it was a hard set to be on. We don't want to know like that the director was a dick, or whatever necessarily, because that's not our business.
Yeah.
But we want to
What,
know that's a
yeah, one of the things I was thinking of, like with interviews and stuff like that, sometimes the things I get the best out of when they do interviews, and to your point, stuff that you're saying is true. Those, dismiss those because it's just what it is. But ass kissing or whatever. But I like when they talk about who they're trying to what they tried to feel for inspiration for the role of, like maybe something,
yes.
another movie or something like that, or another character, or if it's in production elements, what the director was thinking, he was trying to channel some other film or something like that in his mind, looking at the way he was making the film. And it's like, okay, well, okay, I can understand what they're coming from. So they were thinking of it as being a horror movie with some comedic elements, or they're thinking of,
Mhm.
okay, I want to play the heroine as so and so, or through the so that gives some insight on where they're coming from for it, not just the general ass kissing or whatever that you, like you were saying. That's the interviews that I find more beneficial.
Right. I mean, it is nice when an actor talks about what his motivation was, but most of the time
Mm-hmm.
for these indie sets, they don't know that shit. You know, they're still learning how to act or whatever. You know, some of them are veterans. I don't know if Randall Malone was a veteran at this time, but I think he had been in a bunch of movies before this. You know that helped him out. So did Jeff Dylan Graham, those guys, and Sin DeVille. All of them were already sort of on their way to be famous, or whatever, indie famous, as I call it, and those are the people, like I said, I love Jeff Dylan Graham, and I used to see him on Instagram. I don't know if you know if he's on that anymore. He's kind of kept a low profile, and Randall Malone disappeared. I don't know where the fuck he is, which really pisses me off because I love that dude too. Like, I want to work with him,
Yeah, didn't he have like 100 over 100 credits or something like that?
Yeah, dude was, and he lost a lot of weight at the end of his career. And I don't know. It's sad that this happens, but like when you're sort of known for like being a little overweight, you get
Mm-hmm.
you get a lot of roles for that kind of character, right?
Mm-hmm.
But Randall Malone was playing characters he could play with any weight, period. Um, and then what sort of happens is you kind of stop getting roles because people are like, well, you're not the fat guy anymore, sadly. And I'm not saying like that's fair, or that's like what I say. I'm just saying that happens a lot, sadly. um
Mm-hmm. The
I
typecasting, yeah.
Yeah, and people like kind of expect that, like, because that's what they're casting for, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you're like, oh, I want the nerdy, you know big guy, or the as Brandon Malone is the bad guy who can be, heavy set. And then he lost his weight, and then I don't know if what happened, sadly. So Random Malone, if you are out there and you're listening to this, please get in contact with us. We'd love to interview you or chat with you. We'd love to fucking put you in another movie, man, because I adored that guy, like, period. I don't, and when I saw him in Jekyll and Hyde, he had lost a lot of weight, and I was like, good for him, like, being healthy and shit, you know. But like, again, I think a lot of times either he lost the weight and then just had no desire working, anymore, or he lost the weight and just sort of it dried up, and
Yeah, hopefully it wasn't like other issues like health or other stuff that caused it, or personal stuff. I mean, hopefully it's everything is good for him.
well,
And
it's weird. I know people that are in that circle of people,
mhm.
and they don't know where he is.
Wow,
So I'm like, he just kind of disappeared, which is, I guess, is his right, in the world. But I need to
you just
I need
checked
to
out
find
on it.
somebody that knows where this dude is so we can fucking, I want to put him in more movies.
Yeah, well, maybe he
He would
checked
be
out for
great
whatever
for
reason. Yeah,
Echo Lake Universe, we could put him in something,
there you go. I'm
um
sure. I'm sure you could probably come up with a character for him.
oh, dude, I could write a million characters for him. He's such an interesting person, and I love it. So anyway, with that being
Yeah.
said, what would you rate this movie out of the stinkometer? Well, let me explain the stinkometer real quick for those of you that are tuning into the 10th episode but didn't see the first 9 before. The stinkometer is a scale from 1 to 10, 10 being stinky and bad, but sometimes bad can be good, depends on how you feel. Then 1 being really good, and 5 being like mediocre. Or you could do 5.5 or 6.5 if you feel like you can't decide between one, specific number or the other. Then at the end, we're supposed to, basically, I don't know. We may do this with, we may do it with like Paul. I may have Paul watch this movie, and then he can answer the third score. You can give us a third score, but what would you say your score is for this?
Um, I would probably go. I'm wrestling between a half and this number, so it's like I'd probably go 7.
Really?
I'm wrestling between 7, maybe 6.5. If we're not being official, if we need an official call, 6.5 is fine. Yeah,
6.5. I was gonna go with five
yeah.
and a half. Um,
Okay.
it's not. It's sort of a mediocre movie to me.
Hmm.
It's not a terrible movie. It's not a horrible movie.
Yeah.
This is a movie I could watch. In fact, I kind of like it. Like I like it enough that I dig it. So I get 6.5. 6.5 is a good score for it
Yeah.
too. So I just find it to be sort of like we said, there's so many things they could have done differently to make it make sense. And
Mhm.
I mean, I guess the making not making sense part is really stinky. But honestly, I mean, I've seen stinkier movies than this.
Oh yeah.
This has
Yeah,
kind
and
of
and
but
and and, and there and there's nothing that really pushes it over the edge of crossing any bounds of I don't say unforgivable sins or sort of thing, or 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 things that just push buttons in a bad way of just being such fatal flaws in a film or something like that. It's just, I mean, it 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 could have been a lot more,
yeah,
and that's
it could have
you
been
know.
better. Just was sort of
Mhm.
blah to me. Like, I mean, it's I would have said five, but I chose 5.5 because it's going more toward the stinkier,
Mhm.
side
Yeah.
than the like good side, so five
Now,
point five.
yeah. So, um, if you do show this to Paul, what would you think his number would be on this? Do you think you have an idea? Yeah. Obviously, he won't see this before he sees that. So, I mean, I'm just curious on what you have a little bit more of a history, obviously, with him on it. Do you have an idea where you think he might stand on this one?
I have two ideas. So it's kind of cheating, but uh, I think he might think this is sort of mediocre like me, kind of go toward the 5.5 ish range. But also, I think he might think this is really stinky with all the, stuff like that. So he might lean toward like 7.5 to 8, as well. So
He
I
had he
guess
had to get the continuity monkey and all that out or something.
um, I
I don't know if there's really continuity issues as
I don't
much
think
in
it's
this.
kind of, I mean, story problems, or
Yeah, story.
whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, but there wasn't continuity. Um, like there wasn't any like something like the door was open, then it was shut, or whatever,
Mhm.
kind of scenes. I think it was just more toward the line of like just bad writing, which it was two people who wrote it. So maybe a lot of times when you see two people write stuff, it's generally like they're together writing it, like unlike me, I generally work with somebody else and I write half and the other person writes the other half. Um, Most people don't do it that way. They do it together. So they'll sit in a room, smoke cigarettes, and write for like 3 days straight or something, right? And
Mhm.
so that's what generally happens. Um, I'm gonna guess he's gonna lean more toward the stinky side. So I'm gonna say he's gonna give it a 7.5. That's what's gonna be my guess.
Mhm.
You know,
Well, I'm sure he'll
um,
watch. He could watch it at some point, even if it's not like for any sort of scoring in this. But
I
I,
think
I,
I'm gonna
I,
let. I
I
think I'm gonna have him score it at some point because he does love watching like really stinky movies and stuff. So I'll just be like, Blood Legend is on Tubi. Go watch it. You know, or I'll let him borrow the DVD or something. Actually, I don't like letting people borrow my DVDs. I'm so scared. I'm never gonna see them again. I have one friend who I swore to God I let him borrow something, and he was like, "Nope, never got that." You know, I'm like, "You asshole, you have it now." Um, so maybe he does, maybe he doesn't. I don't know, but and I hate borrowing things from people because I'm afraid I'm always gonna accidentally lose it, or
Mhm.
whatever, and then be like, "Oh no, you never gave it to me, never, ever, ever." Don't remember that. All
Well,
right. Well,
I guess you can always throw a little extra piece onto this, or at least in the comments or something
oh,
like
we
that.
won't do that. We will probably at the end of the year when we do our recap
Okay.
episode, just me and Paul doing a recap, we'll probably mention all the 31 ones, and I'll have the score, and I'll have his score for it. So I'll mention that we did it, but and then Paul had to do the third score. He does this stuff all the time, so we have to find third scores for some of our movies too. So we just ask people to watch it and give us a score. We haven't made you do that yet, but maybe one day.
Yeah. I'm always watching films, so
Right. So I mean, it's not much different. It's just stinkier, I guess. Of what normally you watch. This isn't your. Actually, wait. I take that back. You talk about watching stuff on Tubi all the time.
yeah, a lot of there's a lot of you go down some rabbit holes on Tubi, but there's also some gold mine of films on there that I'm like, whoa, I've been wanting to see this forever, and it's here, and it's like cool.
If you tag Tubi on a tweet and Twitter,
Mm-hmm.
they'll like it. They're very good
Really?
at that stuff. Yeah. So I don't know who does their Twitter account, but they are very good at getting back with people and stuff, or just liking things. And I because I did something. I even said like Shudder is number one for horror, right?
Mm-hmm.
And Tubi is second, and they liked it. And I was like, I just said you were second, and you liked it. I'm like, all right, they were okay with being second, but
They
technically
built up a pretty good song.
technically they're first in my mind, really. But I say Shudder first because a lot of people really do enjoy Shudder for horror,
Well, I think
So
some of the streaming wise, I've been probably watching more stuff on Tubi lately than other ones, but
yeah. But Blood Legend is on Tubi, so you guys can watch that. It is now. Don't know what it'll be like in October. I have no clue. Could be gone by then. Who knows? But as right now, Blood Legend is on Tubi, so go check it out or buy it. Support indie film because that's what you got to do these days. So with that being said, thank you so much, Joe. Everybody, thank you guys for tuning in. Join us tomorrow for another full day of the 31 days of indie horror. So I have no idea when I'm going to be doing it again. So it'll probably be next month, So there you go. But thank you, Joe. This is awesome.
all right. Well, it was good being here.
All right. All right, everybody. Have a good one.
All right,
Bye.
bye.